And I thank the gentleman. Would that it be true that there are no more bailouts in this 1,400 or 1,500-page bill that Congress is about to be considering in conference? Would that it be true that the American taxpayer is potentially no longer on the hook, as it has been over the last year and a half under this administration and past, as far as the bailouts that is costing the taxpayers literally tens of billions of dollars? And would that it be true that we would pass a piece of legislation and be able to keep in place the laws of this country for the last 200-plus years to protect private property rights and protect the rights under bankruptcy code, so that investors and institutions know exactly what they are going to get when they invest in a company? More importantly, when you are a secured creditor, that name would actually mean what it says. You are secured by the assets of the company. We certainly saw that that was not the case in the situation of the Chrysler situation, where you had a situation where the administration basically stepped in using taxpayer dollars and used the system of saying, we're not going to go through bankruptcy court, as members of this side of the aisle would suggest should have been occurred, but we're going to act in an extracurricular manner and allow the secured creditors to be tossed aside and the assets of the companies to be divvied up willy-nilly as the administration and others decided they would have. Now, that's in essence what we will be perpetuating with this piece of legislation that's before us. Now, what happened in that situation? Well, in that situation, you had the unions, who basically had no interest in that company whatsoever, end up with basically a 55% interest in the company at the end of the day, basically a gift, valued at $4.5 billion. Fiat was given 20% stake for free to take it over. And at the end of the day, the secured creditors who thought that they should have been at the front of the line, well, they ended up at the end of the line, where instead of getting maybe 43 cents on the dollar, they ended up getting some 29 cents on the dollar and said, and you should be happy about it. Why do I bring up that case? Because basically at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, we're going to be perpetuating that same sort of ability for regulators to be making those same decisions going forward. Yeah, maybe they won't be able to give it to their friends again at the unions like they did in this case. Maybe they will. We're really not sure. But at the end of the day, we're perpetuating the ability to say to secured creditors, you want to make an investment in a company thinking that you are secured and that if the company were to fail and to go into bankruptcy and that you will be first in line, guess what? That is not going to be the case. We're going to put into statute a system to say that a regulator, an unelected bureaucratic regulator is going to say, maybe not. Not so fast, secured creditor. Not so fast, investor. We're going to put someone else ahead of you. You know, that's actually happens to real-life people in the case of the Chrysler situation, where 3 Indiana pension funds, representing who? Policemen, firemen, what have you, thought they were secured creditors, and at the end of the day said that they were stripped of their rights by the system that this bill will perpetuate.
Mr. Chairman, I yield the gentleman an additional minute.
Yeah. The gentleman is recognized for an additional 1 minute.
Yeah, I appreciate the chairman yielding. And this is what we were trying to do. We have the idea that rule of law should mean something in this country, and it has meant something for the last 200-plus years, and bankruptcy code is part of that law. You know, a article published in the UCL Law School said what happened over this last year and a half said what happened was so outrageous and illegal that until March of this year, 2009, nobody ever conceptualized it. The judge in that case that I was referring to commented from the bench that the poor pension manager represented from Indiana, representing the teachers and the firemen and the like, was kind of like the gentleman in Tiananmen Square when the tanks came rolling over. Well, Mr. Speaker, I do not want the investors in this country, whether they be firemen or policemen or other senior citizens down in Florida or other places around the country, to feel like they did in that case. I want them to know that their rights are protected by the rule of law through the bankruptcy process and not by some politically appointed bureaucrats or regulators who can strip them of their rights. That's what Republicans stand for, and that's what we are opposed to this language.